Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates. With your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi, everyone. This is Cindy with another episode of Spectrum Perspectives. And today I have Lori Rogers on the show. Hi, Lori. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, Lori. So let's start in the beginning. Tell me about your pregnancy. When you went for your doctor visits, were there any kind of red flags or anything, or did everything seem like it was going smoothly?
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Cindy. I have to think back because
I know
crazy.
it's a long time ago. Yeah.
My pregnancy was uneventful. It was my second pregnancy. I already had a 2-year-old daughter who was developing beautifully, normally. Everything was great, and I didn't expect this to be any different. Uh, I didn't know back then you didn't find out what you were having, and I never really had a sonogram back then. We're talking 1992 when I'm sorry, 1990. He was born in January of 1991. The birth, I was 2 weeks late, so I was induced, and all the medication that goes with that. And I remember it being tough to push him out. And it was tough and it was, tumultuous for him, I'm sure, in the birth canal. But everything seemed fine and normal. His scores were great. And we went, so that was his birth.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So that went well. And then
yeah.
what about his development? Was that all on time, on target?
Well, I would say for the first year, yes-ish. But now, if we think about it, in his first year of life, he had multiple ear infections. He was on antibiotics probably for a year, amoxicillin, the pink bottle,
Yep.
back when they gave
Yep.
it
The
to you,
pink medicine. Yep.
the pink one. He had psoriasis as a little infant. And like, what the hell is this? And so we would do steroid cream on him, but no red flags, ear infections, the whole thing. And then one day, I think he was probably 18 months old. I said, you know what, I'm just getting him off this milk. And once we stopped milk, he never had another ear infection. But the pediatrician never said to me, Lori, maybe you should take him off of dairy and take him
Right.
off of milk. It
No,
was
they
like
won't do
my
that.
own instinct, like my own idea.
Hmm.
So, yes, he smiled, he was happy, he crawled, he stood, he started walking. He had tiny little babbles and tiny little words, but by 15 months, 16 months, I'm like, I knew what it should be like because of his older sister.
Right.
And the pediatrician kept telling me, "Oh, he's fine. He has an older sister. She speaks for him. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing." I'm like, I don't know. And then, so on top of him having colds and ear infections, and then the psoriasis we were treating, he was getting his shots, which I'm sure and pray to God a pediatrician wouldn't do that now with a child with a weakened immune system, wouldn't do that and would know, let's wait, let's wait. So, um, by about 18 months, 20 months, we lost him. No smile, dark circles under the eyes. He cried. He didn't even cry. He just was so, so sad all the time. Toe walking, teeth grinding. What the hell is like what the what? He was 2.5 when he was finally diagnosed on with PDD and OS back then. So that was in 1993. No one used the A word and didn't even know what PDD was.
Right. Just
Phase of
FYI,
developmental
Robbie
disorder.
would be 36. So we are back at the same time
Okay.
frame. And it was the
So try to
same.
go. So
We
there
have the same
wasn't.
story.
Okay. So
Pediatrician said
try to
the
go
same
back.
thing.
Oh my
His older
God.
sisters are spoiling him. They're doing
Mm,
everything for him. Yeah.
yes.
And
Right.
we got the PDD NOS diagnosis as well. Yep.
Yes. So try to find anything in the library on that because it wasn't the
No.
internet then.
Right.
And then
Nothing.
finally, like 6 months into his diagnosis, I realized, oh, you mean autism for God's sake. Like, why didn't you just say that? There was some stuff on autism at the time. He was the only child I knew. I didn't know any, and it was heart-wrenching. It was terrible. Yeah, he was sick. He was sick. And we immediately just went into, after like, sobbing for a week, trying to figure this out. Neil and I were like, okay, let's buckle up, let's figure out what we need to do, and let's get him better. Let's get him healthier. I mean, honestly, I used to use the recovery word all the time. I wanted him back. I want him recovered.
Right.
And maybe that wasn't the thing to say. Looking back on it now, I wish I had said, I want your body to be healed and beautiful and healthy. I want your body to be healed and healthy and beautiful and healthy. Because whatever your brain is going to be, it's going to be. But it doesn't need to be inflamed. It doesn't need to be full of viruses. It doesn't need to be, closed up and not speaking. In the words that he did have, he lost. Um, this is not unique. I'm not a unique situation. Back then I was, but now I'm not. And I can't even believe that we're talking 33 years later and it's still happening and happening and happening and happening. Honestly, that I don't like to think about it. It makes me so sad to think that that is still going on.
Right. So you're like me,
So,
like we've watched it, like the numbers were 1 in 10,000 back
yeah.
then, right? And I watched it
Mhm.
go from 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500, 1 in 200, 1 in 100, 1 in 50 to 1 in 30,
Yes.
one or whatever it is now. Like we've watched it over the years. Like this is insane,
Right.
right?
So, yes, it is
So who
insane.
diagnosed him? What kind of doctor did you go
Oh
to?
my gosh. So we had a whole team. We had a pediatrician, a social worker, an OT, a PT, and a speech therapist all in the room observing him. He was 2.5. They had him do some exercises and some games and some interactions and some whatever. And then they came back and they, I remember sitting there and telling me what it was. And they slid this brochure to me. It's so funny because I didn't think anything was wrong with him. I said, "Oh, they're just going to say he needs speech therapy and all is well." So Neil had to go to a sales meeting that day. I said, "Go to your sales meeting. I'll handle this meeting. This is fine. What are they going to tell me?" Well, this is, then they slid this pamphlet towards me on the table and explained to me what this was and the PDD-NOS and one of the signs or one of the characteristics is this child will never show emotion. And that just crushed me. I'm like, oh my God, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, here I was by myself with this sweet little boy, 2.5. He's beautiful. And I didn't know what this was. And for a while, I didn't tell family. I didn't tell people. I was almost like embarrassed about it. Um, which, sh okay, whatever, that working that through because he was so different from anyone else's child that we knew. But
Mhm.
my friends and family, we introduced this and showed what this was, they were more than supportive and more than understanding. So
I had a therapist tell me he he'll never say I love you. And she
oh,
said, we want him to give you eye contact because we want him to see you as a person and not just as the hand that feeds him. I was like, you're saying that's all I am to him is just the hand that feeds him, that I'm not a real person? Like that's what they thought of autism, that they're so
yes,
in their own world,
yes, and
and
it's
no
so
emotion, no affection. They'll never say, I was like, that is not my son.
that's not true. And it's so 100% 180 of what's real. It's the
Mhm.
opposite of what's real.
Right.
Now that I know, and I will say in the early years, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, we did every intervention that came up. Flew to Chicago to see those special Dan doctors. We did every new supplement, every new treatment, everything we
How
just
did you
did.
find out about Dan doctors if there was no internet?
Yeah.
Good question, right?
Well, so we didn't start working with a Dan doctor till he was about 6. So that was 4 years later. So
Okay.
by 1997, there was the internet and you could,
Right.
I don't know how I found her. We live outside of Boston. So there were physicians in the Boston area that were understanding what was going on.
Okay.
So that
But you weren't
helped.
going to get that through your pediatrician, though.
No. Oh, no.
How did you find this team that diagnosed him?
They were part of we live in Nashua, New Hampshire, and they were part of the Early Intervention Center in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, okay, so it's early intervention. So
Hmm.
it was like, did you go through the Board of Ed?
No, we went through our local hospital, our
Oh,
local Health and Human Services Agency, and then through the local hospital had this early intervention team.
mhm.
Yeah. They were
Okay.
great. They were great. And they did what they were supposed to do. And they set us on a course and they told us this, support. And then we did go to Mass General. No, I'm sorry. We went to Children's Hospital in Boston and got a second diagnosis and with a prescription of what he needed for schooling and all of that because he was hitting 3 years old.
Mhm.
So once he hit 3, he went into the special needs preschools and he was there like 5 hours a day in this. But now looking back on it now, they didn't even know what the hell they were doing. God bless them all. But they didn't know this diagnosis. They didn't
Yeah.
have any other children that with this diagnosis. So I'd go in at least almost not every day, but a lot, and help them set up his board maker, help them set up his communication board, help them work on games and toys with him and show them how to interact with him. I would create binders with him. So it was like I was teaching them how to work with him.
Wow. How
Yeah.
did you know how to do it?
I just because we were getting OT work, we were doing sensory integration and they would show me things and then I wanted them to do that in school. So when he went into preschool at 3, I said to Neil, "Oh my God, the preschool doesn't have a sensory integration room. No beans, no balls, no swings, no trampolines, no nothing." He goes, "Well, that's all right. We'll just raise the money and we'll buy it." I'm like, "What the hell? What are you talking about?" So that fall, we had a fundraiser. We raised $2,500 back then, and we bought all the equipment the OT needed to create this sensory integration room right in the school. And then we
Was this a
created
regular public school?
in a public school. Yes.
Three-year-olds in the public school.
Say it
Okay.
again?
3-year-olds in a public school. That's
Yes.
early. That's young, but that was
Yes.
because it
So
was
it was a special needs preschool in the public school.
right.
So we created a foundation at that time called Parents Assisting Special Educators, and it was like a PTO for special needs classrooms.
Mhm.
And we raised money we did it for 22 years while Craig was in public school, and we raised money. The teachers, the OTs, the PTs, the speech therapists would ask us for things. The committee would approve it or not, and then buy the stuff and ship it into the schools to use. Things like Velcro. Remember Velcro, how much Velcro they needed for their communication boards, or mats, or software, or bean bags, or sensory integration equipment for the schools. That was expensive to set up all the OT rooms. But we were just proactive, and we would just, what can we do to help? What can we do? That's just the way we operated. But I demanded a lot. I'm not going to lie. Neil and I both did. And so there were some contentious IEP meetings. I'm not going to lie. I remember an OT saying to me, "Well, I don't know if Craig will ever be able to sign his name small enough to put it on a check." Oh, why would you say that? Why would you ever? Maybe that's true, but why would you ever say that? You always go in with hope and love and compassion and joy. Like, yes, we're going to get this kid to write small so that he can write his name on a check. Right? I just, that's the way my mind worked, but not everyone's did. So it would,
Well, there's a lot of negativity when they're diagnosed for sure. He'll never do this, he'll never do that.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And honestly, right now, who cares if he doesn't sign his name on a check? Now that he's 35, we don't even need checks. So I mean, he can, but he doesn't need to.
Mhm.
So, it was quite the journey, but I felt I could stay out of the ditch if I was giving back and hoping for the next thing, hoping for something amazing, hoping that it'd get better. We would get more speech and words from him. He has limited speech. It's not conversational like this. He has conversations on the board,
Right.
with me or his practitioners, but not using his words.
Right. All right.
Because
We'll
he's a
all right, we'll
prax.
get to that. We'll get to
Yeah.
that. All right.
Yeah.
So then he continued in public school.
Yes.
Okay. And was he in like a contained class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And his
And did
grades.
he use did they have a pro loco device or any of that? I know for Robbie, he used to use PEX, which is the picture exchange communication
Mhm.
system, where he would talk about the Velcro, right? He'd have a
Yep.
picture of a red Solo cup and he'd had to pull it off and hand it to them. And then they say, "Oh, you want a drink?" And they'd give him, a drink. And he never got past that. They never tried to put him on a keyboard or anything because they didn't think he was capable of doing that, which he probably wasn't. I know he wasn't. But, and it's so funny because I really thought he didn't understand anything and he was not capable of doing so many things. And now that I know all about spelling and apraxia and all of this, now I realize, now I see how wrong I was about everything.
Mhm. Me
But
too.
So what were they doing with him in school? Like, did he ever learn math, spelling, social studies, any of that kind of stuff? Or was it just because I know with Robbie they didn't do any of that.
So in his younger grade school years, we had goals and objectives. We had, it was easier when you're doing like first, second, third grade work and you're doing addition or subtraction. And yes, plus and minus type stuff they would do. Reading he would do. And I had a wonderful woman named Laura working with him that helped him to read. He could read if the text was large enough and big enough so that his eye tracking could watch could what is it, read from left to right. But if it was tiny little words in a textbook, he couldn't because he didn't have the motor planning to move his eyes to scan those words. So it wasn't that he
Interesting.
couldn't read the teeny tiny text.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't
Um,
heard that yet.
yeah, so and I would take books, type up the text in large text, cut it out and tape it into the book so we could read that. So we knew he was smart, but once you got beyond, it's so interesting too. In fifth and sixth grade, he had an amazing teacher. They looped, and he was integrated into a regular classroom, maybe I don't know, 2 hours a day. And he had written. They were doing the ear and making drawing and coloring an ear. And she said, "All right, Craig, you need to put your name on that paper, but write small." She said, "Write small." What does he write? Small.
Oh,
He was very literal. And she
yeah.
goes, he taught me so much this year about my teaching style and what I need to communicate and how I communicate. But once we hit junior high and high school, it was a whole nother ball game because it wasn't age appropriate materials. He wasn't no one was presuming competence that he could learn and was understanding anything. The special ed teachers did the best they could with this time they had and the skills they had to read to him and to do more age appropriate things. High school, he was like in a dungeon of a classroom with no windows and never in a typical education room ever. No. So how he knows all that he knows, he tells me he heard it. I could hear it, and that's how I learned it. Mm.
Oh, so did he hear what was going on in the other classrooms? Because I've
Yes.
heard that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then did he go to school till he was 18 or 21?
22.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he graduated, and then what happened?
So we transitioned. He didn't ever really graduate because he didn't get a diploma, although he
Right,
wants one now. He wants a diploma.
right.
Um, he transitioned into the Nashua system for, adults world, which we created a program in Nashua at Nashua Community College called Life Opportunities. And Neil met with the then president of Nashua Community College, who happened to have a grandson with autism. And she gave us a classroom. All right, these kids can use this classroom on the first floor. They can come in here, use this classroom. They can use the gym, the cafeteria. They want to sit in on an educational class, fine. They want to join, if they want to pay for classes and get a diploma, fine. So we did our adult program through the Nashua Center here in Nashua, who are amazing and wonderful, and that program ran through them. So he's still in that. He doesn't really go to the college as much anymore because now we have
What
an
did they
office.
do during the day?
Okay, so, for him, they would, I would give them things to do. I would say, read this book with him. He needs to exercise every day. He needs to play basketball every day. As far as educational things, do this with him. He never really sat in on any of the classrooms because he was
Who was working
loud.
with him though? Who
A
was the
one-to-one
staff?
aide. He had a one-to-one direct support person that worked with him every day.
Oh,
Pick him
okay.
up, drop him off. Yeah, at the time he was living with us. He doesn't live with us now. Although he's with us this month because his his living situation the Roland is in Africa for a month, so Craig is with us for the month.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
been really great to have him here.
Yeah, but okay, so you had a DSP. I didn't know anything
Yep.
about that. So I'm curious to know how you found somebody to work with him every day.
Nashua Center did. So Nashua Center is a vendor through our state of New Hampshire, and
Mhm.
they support children under 3 and then adults after 22 in
Okay.
the community with developmental disabilities. And
Okay.
Neil knew the director of the program. We went to him and said, okay, what do you have for Craig? Well, nothing really great. And we were like, okay, well, we just created this thing over here. Do you want to run it? And they were like, yeah, we'll run it. And hired Nora to be the head
Okay.
teacher and to organize it. And they found us the direct support person.
Okay. Got it. All right. So it's this Nashua Center really that it
Yes.
was a big, huge help.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they ran this program and they found somebody to work with him.
Yes.
Wow. You were very fortunate.
Yes. Yeah. He's
Okay. So
never been home doing nothing. Thank God.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's a big problem for a lot of people. That's why I
Mhm.
asked. So, what was he doing afterwards? And then so you were able to get a program started,
Yes.
which is great. Um, all right. So let's talk about spelling. How did you find out about that?
Well, I got hit in the head with it twice. Once no, I was like, here I am, Miss Open and open mindset, thinking positively. And one of Neil's friends suggested we read the book Underestimated. So Neil gets the book, it comes in, I open the package, and what does the book say? Underestimated, an autism miracle. And I went, oh, God, no, not another miracle that I'm going to spend gazillions and go down this path and whatever, whatever. I put the book on the table. I said, okay, that's for another day. Maybe Neil will pick it up and read it. There you go. So 6 months later, maybe 9, another friend of mine said, Lori, Dr. Heather's back in our practice now. You should go in and see with her. She's the medical director of some research study going on. And I had known Dr. Heather from years and years ago. So I said, all
From the
right.
Dan doctors?
Dr. Heather, oh my God, what's her
Was she
last
one
name?
of the Dan doctors or no?
No, she runs the CHIRP study and another study, and she's the medical director of these studies that are going on. Um, she wouldn't, I don't think she would call herself, she was not a Dan doctor at the time. She
Mhm.
was still in medical school at that time, back in
Mhm.
that day.
No, I was just
Um,
wondering if that's where you
yeah,
had heard of her.
yeah. And she's a functional medicine doctor, is
Okay.
how I found her.
Mhm.
And we sat down in the meeting and she goes, well, Lori, you've read Underestimated, right? I have another patient in New Jersey that's doing this, this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm like, well, the book is on my table at home. I'll go home and read it tonight. So
Mhm.
that's how I found it. I read the book
Okay.
3 years
So wait, hold
ago.
on. Let back up one second though. You mentioned a functional medicine doctor. How did you
Yes.
know about functional medicine? How'd you
Well,
get down that path? Because
because I've been on the outside of the medical thing for a long time. Like once, a few years into Craig's diagnosis, I realized that mainstream medicine wasn't going to help me
right,
or help him.
right.
And I needed to branch out and find something different. So for a long
So,
time,
all right, let's keep going back because, all right,
yeah,
you mentioned the all the physical symptoms that he had, right? The ear infections and all of that. That can be linked to the jabs, right? So, did you have it in your head that maybe that what the medical profession was doing to your child was causing some of these symptoms, and then that set you down the functional medicine path, or
so I would say maybe 2 years in, maybe he was like 4.5 or so, I realized what the doctors had been giving him
Mhm,
as far as what the antibiotics were doing to his system, this little
mhm,
poor little innocent little baby body, and what those jabs were doing to his system, this compromised immune system getting jabbed.
mhm,
And at 40, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? What did we do? What did I do? What
mhm,
happened? And that's when I started testing him for heavy metals, what was going on in his gut, all that stuff. And I met with some other parents. It was other parents that guided me to these other physicians out there that were working outside the box. You paid out of pocket for them to help us figure it out, help us chelate him or help us heal his gut or figure out what was going on. I didn't know at the time we were doing it. So it's interesting because I had another child when Craig was 3.5. I had another baby. Thank God I knew what I knew because I did it differently with Cam. And I did that whole schedule differently. He never had milk. He never had an antibiotic. And I don't know, he was a healthy, amazing child. And he's healthy and with a typical brain and all as well. I
Mhm.
think it's typical.
Right, right.
He'd laugh if I said that. But so it was a few years in before I realized what the medical community and what mainstream medicine had, what's the word?
Well, what they had done, basically. I mean,
Right.
not that they do it on purpose, they don't know any better.
No, they didn't
Um,
know.
but
Right.
I'm just curious because Robbie's the same age, right? And I knew nothing about this stuff. I had never even heard of functional medicine. I didn't know it
No.
existed. There was no internet. So I'm like, how did you learn this?
Yes,
You know,
it was
like I
from other parents. It was
okay.
through other parents that were just on a road to help their kid heal.
Hmm.
And that's how I found out. And I was on the road too to help him heal.
Hmm.
And I knew I wasn't going to get it where with the doctor I was with because they didn't understand nutrition. He didn't even understand what yeast overgrowth was or dysbiosis in the gut or even that possibly there could be heavy metals in his brain. So I knew the more I read and the more people I met, I knew we had to make a change. So that's how I started on that I called it outside of the box path.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, so let's go back to okay, she told you read underestimated. So you went
Yeah.
home, did you read the book?
So
I'm
I
assuming.
did, and that was 3 years ago. Yeah, 3.5 years ago. And there were no practitioners in this area. The closest practitioner was in Rhode Island, an hour and a half away. I said, okay, I'm gonna go. Let's go. Let's go do it. Because the book and Jamie's story is exactly Craig's story with the temper tantrums in high school and not understanding why he's so, distraught there. What is he hurt? What is he hear? And well, I'll go back to that once I realize what was going on there. It's like, oh my gosh, he is hearing everything. Oh my gosh, he does know that they're teasing him. He does know that this is happening. He does know he's being treated like a 2-year-old, even though he can do calculus. So, oh my gosh, this is the same story. It's gotta be, it's gotta be. So we went to Rhode Island, an hour and a half away, and Crystal sat him down and said, I'm going to read you a story about Dr. Stephen Hawking. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I want you to take this pencil and I want you to poke these letters and spell out the answer for me. I had no doubt in my mind that he could do it, and he did it. I was shocked the first lesson when she asked him a question that wasn't in the text and he answered it. I said, well, hang on, Crystal, how does he know that? That wasn't in the lesson. She's, Lori, he has a whole functioning, amazing brain filled with words and knowledge. He just can't get it out. He knows the answer to that question because it's we call prior knowledge that he's learned along the way. He's been listening all these years and learned it along the way. I'm like, oh boy, okay, cool. I'm like, ah. So for about 6 months, we went to Rhode Island and saw Crystal. And then more and more practitioners were coming into the Massachusetts and New Hampshire area. So then we started working with practitioners here, and they were training me to become, open and communicating with him. So
So would
now
you
with
consider
me,
him to be a minimal speaker, unreliable speaker?
I'd say both minimal, unreliable,
Okay.
because he says to me, not says, he spells to me, don't listen to what I say, listen to what I spell. So
Mm,
even if he says yes to something, I make him spell it. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'll say, do you want to listen to Santana this morning? Yes. He'll just say yes. I said, okay, could you tell me for sure? What do you want to listen to this morning?
yeah,
Or could you go over there and grab the CD that you want to hear? And then
right,
he can do that.
right.
Um, yeah.
So people are probably thinking, okay, but he could write, right? That they told him to write small and he wrote
He
small,
can
right?
write.
So he could write. So was that reliable at all?
No, no. He
Like you
would write
never thought
this.
to say, hey, write down what you want, right?
So
Like,
he would
do you want to listen to
write.
Santana today? Write
Mm,
Santana. Like you never thought to do
I
that?
never thought to do that, but during the like junior high and high school years, he would write lists of what he wanted to do, like school, home. Pasta for dinner. But he would write lists of words of what he wanted. But it wasn't thought, cognitively, diverse language that he does have when he's spelling.
Okay.
For instance, he said to one of the kids that he Zooms with, he wasn't with me, he was with his practitioner, and he spells out, when will the world realize that the only true thing that matters is love and the one consciousness? This is from a kid that said,
Right.
Mom, pasta, mom, pasta, mom, pasta, and would flap or hum or whatever. This intelligence that he has. And then, of course, you go through weeks of regret and remorse and, oh my God, I wasn't doing the right thing. Oh my God, I didn't presume he knew all of this. But at the same time, he's loud and he would have disrupted the regular education classroom. So it was like we were betwixt. I made decisions based on that instead of having them bring this robust education to him. Which
The mom pasta, is that a loop, you think, when he does
yeah,
that?
right. I'm like, spell out what you want for dinner, Yeah.
Right. Just I try to help other parents that, don't spell yet.
Yeah.
So I try to help them understand because they think, well, my kid does talk. I don't need that. What do I need that for? He does talk.
Yes, but maybe they do, and maybe they do say some words. My sense of it, depending on where they are on this spectrum, I see that in quotes, is it might not, it just might be what's myelated in their brain, right? But that's not what they really want. One day, Craig told me, I hate green beans. I'm like, well, good thing you told me
He
because
spelled that.
he spelled it. Yes.
Right.
I hate green beans. I'm like, yeah, I'll never give them to you again. Sorry.
Right.
And I didn't know that. Or he spelled out that his tooth was hurting. Took him to the dentist. He had to have 4 fillings. So like things like that. It's could be life and death situations, when they're in pain. I think of all the tantrums he had or the upsetness he had. Was he in pain? Did his stomach hurt? Was something going on and he just couldn't tell us?
Right.
So we had minimal
Right. And
speech.
then in school, they'll just treat it as a behavior
Yes.
and put
Yes.
him in a hold or do,
Right.
some type
So
of discipline, and then
have
not realizing there's something
robust,
wrong.
I think the spelling offers these beautiful, amazing, intelligent kids the way to communicate what is in their brain. So if your motor cortex isn't working right, which means you can't get out what you need to get out robustly through your mouth. Okay, fine. This isn't working, but your words, your thoughts, your knowledge, your ideas are in the different sections of the brain. And those are all there. And that is competent and that's intact. So give them another way to get it out, and spelling is the way to get it out. I firmly believe in it. Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen it in action, and Craig has other friends that come in that he sees during the week, and they spell back and forth to each other. He has friends now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, where at the center that he goes to?
Yeah, they'll come into the center and they'll have like a group spelling session together. They'll have lunch together, or they'll Zoom. He Zooms with someone from Maryland, and they Zoom back and forth and communicate.
So how did the other people at the center find out about spelling? Through you?
Yeah, I told them this is Craig's choice of communication, which, by the way, is federally protected under 2 different federal laws. This is what he wants to do. This is how he wants to communicate. I need the practitioners to come in here and work with him, and he needs to learn how to do this. And oh, by the way, we need to train his direct support person. They were like, fine, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in a public school. I don't have to deal with that. I am lucky in the fact that he's out of public school. Neil and I do run his program. They're so cool with anything I suggest, but I'm there helping too. Like I work with Craig there too. I help manage the program. I help train and pay for the training. So it's a cooperative effort, but they're like, yeah, sure, do it. If it's going to improve his life, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the other people, did they go out to go find a practitioner, or did you bring a practitioner into the center?
I have his practitioners come into the center to work with him.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, and then will he spell with you?
Yes,
Okay, because they won't spell with some parents.
I know. We went through a rough patch of not spelling with me, and we were doing beautifully open communication. Craig had a blog. We were writing in that, da 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 da, whole thing. And then he stopped, and he told me I needed to heal. And at that time, I had injured my leg, and my whole sciatic nerve was messing up my left leg, blah, blah, blah. And he told me I needed to heal emotionally and work on that. And I'm like, okay, like this kid is so brilliant. I'm like, all right, I trust what you're telling me here. So I've been seeking that out. I've done some emotional healing and working on that. And I've told him, he knows, he already knows. And we're going to get back on track. So now, little by little, we're starting to communicate and do lessons together and communicate back and forth together again.
It's
But
so
we had a
interesting. Yeah,
good
they're so intuitive.
September, October, November, December. We had a good 5 months where he's like, yeah, no, you're out. Yeah.
But at least he told you why.
Yes.
See, some parents are
Why?
bewildered and they don't know why, right? And I see it on Facebook on the spelling,
Oh,
pages and
yes.
things, and the parents get very flustered and frustrated. I'm like, well, you're probably not regulated in some way.
Right. I wasn't. I wasn't. And also, when you're the parent, like you're the mom, especially, we still kind of treat them like they're 10, or instead of this amazing young, he's 35. He wants to communicate with his practitioners. One of them, who is a man, I mean, like, yay. So a 35-year-old, a typical 35-year-old doesn't want to be sitting there chit-chatting with their mom anyway, right? They
Right,
want to be with other people and they want to communicate with other people. So I
right.
totally get that. And he told me I need to assume more intelligence and hopefulness. Like, okay, you're right. You're right. Why do I still think, why am I still doubting it? I don't want to, just doubt it anymore.
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. Darn
What
it
are you
all.
doubting? You're not doubting that he could spell. Obviously, he
No,
can.
I
You're
feel like
you're doubting how much he knows.
I think maybe I'm doubting my skill and to work with him, and I'm doubting that he's understanding what I'm reading to him and why. Why would I do that when I already know how amazingly intelligent he is? So it's not just about word intelligence or knowledge intelligence. It's also that getting tapped into that universal intelligence, which some people call God, some people call it universal energy, some people call it the one consciousness.
Mhm.
He's already up there. He's there. I'm not yet. I'm working to get there to know that I'm part of that too, so that we're both working in the same vibrational level.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. All right. Let's
It's
talk about
deep.
telepathy.
Believe me, it's deep, and that's probably a whole
Yeah.
nother
So
thing.
let's talk about telepathy because that's really where this is all coming from.
Sure.
Um, so he can hear thoughts, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay. So it's interesting because I know from what I'm gathering is most of the non-speakers definitely can hear thoughts. They go to the hill, all of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, Houston says all can. Some parents don't like that generalization, because if they can't, they don't want their kids to feel bad that they can't.
Right.
But
Sure.
your son is not a non-speaker. An unreliable speaker, whatever category we want to put him in.
Yeah.
But he still can hear thoughts. So he can hear your thoughts. I'm assuming
Yes.
it's usually the mother is like the main one that they can tap into, right?
Yes.
When did you figure that out that he could hear the thoughts?
I would say like a year into spelling,
Mhm.
we were open and communicating, and he said, Mom, I'm anxious about moving to Portsmouth, which is another town in New Hampshire. I'm like, who told you you were moving to Portsmouth?
Oh,
And he said, Amanda, his older sister. I
hmm.
called Amanda. I'm like, Amanda, did you say anything to Craig about, because we had been looking over there. It's
Mhm.
on the seacoast, it's beautiful. Maybe it'd be cool to live over that area, whatever. No, Mom, no, I never said anything. Oh my God, that's so weird. I'm like, okay. So I just kind of blew it off. I said, no, Craig, you're not moving to Portsmouth. We're living in Nashua. You live with Roland. All is well, not to worry. And then another time he said, Mom, educate me. And when I say, I mean spell. Educate me on PRP, which is that it's this process where they take your blood and they put it through the centrifuge thing, and then they inject your own blood back into you. It's like a healing thing. I think it's called PRP or something like that. And so I went on the website, I showed him what it was, I read to him. I said, well, how do you know about PRP? Because I met with his doctor one-to-one, his functional medicine doctor,
Mhm.
and she told me about it to look into it. I'm like, okay. So we talked about it.
But he
That
wasn't there.
night,
Your
he
son
was
wasn't
not
there.
there.
Okay.
I'm like, he goes, I heard Dr. Heather talking about it.
Huh.
I mean, he's like 5 miles away at a center,
Yeah.
and I'm with Dr. Heather. Or, and then I thought, oh, okay. So I still was like, maybe I did discuss it in the car. Maybe I was on the phone with, I don't know. So I still blew that off. I didn't get it. And then he told me that when he prays and when he talks to God, it's telepathic when he communicates. He goes, I am telepathic. Still, I didn't get it. I didn't know what that meant, honestly. So I had to look it up, really research it, and understand what it meant. And then I got hooked. People started to tell me about the telepathy tapes, and Craig and I listened to that podcast together.
Mhm.
And that's when he told me, yes, I go to the hill.
Mm.
Yes, goes, Mom, you need to. Okay, here's one. I'll tell you this. Mom, you need to find Laura. You need to connect with her mother. She lives in St. Louis. I want to go meet her. I'm like, okay, dude, well, how do you know Laura? From the hill. I said, well, why don't you ask her her phone number? And then maybe I
That
can
would make it
her mother.
easier. Right?
So I did go on Facebook and I asked him, can I go on Facebook and ask? And he said yes. But I haven't gotten Laura's mom to respond to me. So I don't, I find it fascinating. So I said to him, find her phone number, ask her her
Yeah.
phone number, and then tell me on the board what it is, so
Well, that would help a lot of people. There's a lot of parents on these pages looking for whoever their kid is talking to on the hill. I'm like, tell
yes,
the kid to give you the phone number and call
exactly,
them.
exactly, right.
Or
So
ask for the
it
last
was like,
name and see, find them on Facebook, you know?
exactly. That's what I said. So was a year in till I finally figured that out, and I had no idea what it was. And then I started researching it and listening to the telepathy tapes and realized. And then when I'm spelling with him, I sometimes he'll say, "I'm connected to your thoughts," and I was like, "Okay, well then I'll just not think of any." It's hard not to think of anything,
Mhm.
so I just um another parent told me to do this. Just focus on the letter. Think about the letter that they're pointing to at the time. So just think of M and think of O, and think of N. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So that has helped a lot because he doesn't want my thoughts to interfere with what he's trying to communicate. And so
Yeah.
I'm very, I think of all the years, all the terrible things I was thinking, um, what am I going to do? This is just, I think the most impactful thing for our family was him being able to express to his siblings, Cam and Amanda, who never even knew if he loved them, liked them, cared about them, never really communicated with them, showed no interest, that he was able to tell them how much he loved them,
Oh.
how he thanked them, and he would list out little games that Cam would play with him as a young boy and thanked him for that and thanked his sister for her support always. To me, for his siblings to hear that is amazing. So little kids, younger parents out there, if you have other children, your little child on the spectrum or diagnosed does know his siblings and he knows you. Craig knows all of his cousins and his aunts and uncles and is well aware of them and where they live. They can't express it. They don't show the emotion. They don't show that they're, you know, caring or aware, but they are. They're whole and amazing and they're aware.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Hmm. So just back to the telepathy thing. So when he said that he found out through his sister, does that mean he was hearing his sister's thoughts as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So now, did you ever read Katie Asher's book, The Book of Heaven, about her in Houston?
I think I have it here. I haven't started it yet, but I do
All right,
have
that's a
it.
good one. You have to read that one
Yeah.
next.
Okay.
She talks about when Houston, because she's the first person I ever heard talk about this,
Okay.
because I interviewed her probably a good three or 4 years ago. That Houston could hear thoughts, and she's like, "You're lying. That's not true," And then he proved it. But and she said the same thing you did. She had so many bad thoughts that and he would get on her case then afterwards, and he's like, "You have really stinking thinking, basically. You need to stop." And when the siblings found out, they were like, "Oh, wow, he must really think we're jerks." Because then when you start thinking about all the things that you've thought, in front of them,
These
yeah, it's
kids.
interesting. So I
Oh,
do retreats for moms that have autistic kids, and I
oh,
brought Katie on as our speaker, virtually, and I wanted them to know, and this was before the telepathy tapes came out, and we proved to them that Houston could read his mother's thoughts. But I wanted them to know, I said, listen, when you go home, you don't have to just watch what comes out of your mouth. You have to watch what you think
mhm.
also.
I
Because
agree.
yeah,
So
because your
true.
kids can
And
hear. They know
so
what you're thinking.
for the
I'm
younger
wondering
kids,
though if he can remote view as well, because when you were at the doctor's office and he heard what the doctor was saying, have you ever asked about that?
I haven't,
Can
but
he
I can
see
ask
what you
him.
see,
Let me see
or
it.
he's just hearing or is he just hearing your thoughts? Because I'm hearing that one as well, that they will remote view through
Wow.
people, so that he's like there in the room with you, not
Okay.
just listening to your thoughts.
All right. That's interesting. Yeah, I can ask. I'll ask
Yeah.
him. Craig does know Houston. It's funny you should mention it because
Oh, from the hill, probably.
probably, and I didn't
Yeah.
know he said Craig said something about some therapy he wanted to try. I said, well, why? Why do you want to do that? And he spells out because it helped my friend Houston. I'm like, well,
Mm.
I don't know anyone named Houston. I'm
Yeah.
like, who's Houston?
Yeah.
Houston's my friend from the hill.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't know what that meant.
Houston is kind of a big deal there.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
he is.
Like, who is
He
that?
teaches.
Okay.
He's sort of like a big brother to a lot of them, and he
Okay.
teaches them a lot of things. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah, he's sort of like a general in the ranks, sort
I
of
love that.
there.
So I
So
think that's why Craig knows so much history. He knows so much social studies. He knows the math. He knows science. And I think that's why is from the Hill where they've been helping each other and teaching each other.
yeah,
I I think so. I haven't
yeah,
asked him, but I think that
yeah.
he always told me he could hear it. He heard it, but that doesn't mean he may have heard it in school.
Well, somebody else I interviewed said that one of her students, he knew everything because while he was sitting in the special ed classroom, he would listen in
Okay,
telepathically or
whatever.
remote viewing, however he was doing it. He was listening to the other teachers in the other rooms.
Okay,
So he was learning the science and the social studies and everything from tapping into what was going on in the
beautiful.
other classrooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's
fascinating.
probably what happened with Craig too. I didn't know that was a thing, so I didn't go to that deep to ask. Oh,
Mhm.
right. That's a,
Yeah, they
wow. I know
yeah, I
it's a
think,
whole new world,
and I've heard
really.
that the telepathy itself is just sort of scratching the surface to their abilities of what they're able to do,
Mhm.
which is wild. Um, so now talking about, watching your thoughts and what you think in front of your kids and everything, let's talk about what you do for with mindset.
Yeah. So I didn't even know mindset was a thing. I didn't know. So back in 2011, 2012, my daughter was home with post-concussion syndrome because she got hit in the head with a lacrosse stick. She played Division I lacrosse in college. Craig was transitioning out of high school. The recession was in the country, right? And our business was in the dumps. All of these things were happening at the same time. And in normal circumstances, Maybe I could have handled one or two of them, but all three of these things were just really taking me to the ditch. So my daughter's home, had to leave college, her classes, her apartment, in a dark room, no computer, no TV, no phone, no anything. She asked me to take her to a wellness fair. So I took her to this wellness fair. Long story short, I learned about our energy. I learned about how our thoughts are a thing, thoughts are energy, thoughts become matter, and you create your experience. And when your mind is in a more optimistic, positive state, all of these amazing things that have been researched to happen and to occur in your life, like, you're more abundant, you sell more, you're more optimistic and positive, you have less anxiety, you are open. This is the one I love, is that when your mind is more optimistic and positive, you're open to the creative ideas that are always flowing to you, because they're always flowing to you. But when you're more optimistic and positive, you can hear them and act on them. You're more resilient to illness, all these cool things. So I started to learn, I started to do these practices. I started my I am statements, which are much more optimistic and positive than, our tendency, God bless our egos, but our tendency is to see the negative. And our ego wants to keep us safe and warning, warning, warning to keep us alive. But we need to counteract that default software program with positive affirmations in the morning and positive things to say to ourselves, positive things about our day. Have an appreciation practice so that we can balance this negativity over here, because this isn't ever going to go away. It's built in our DNA, it's built in our brain, but we can counteract it and overcome it by thinking of the more optimistic and positive things. So I studied this, I researched this. I'm like, what is happening here? I went to workshops and bought the books. And once I realized that the things that you can do to really change your life and help yourself be more optimistic and positive are free. You do them in your home. Anyone can. Your brain is just a big batch of mush. Your subconscious is waiting for you to fill it with information. So why not fill it with great, positive, amazing information and not the negative stuff that we think, oh, I'm never going to get this job. Oh, I'm never going to get this quote. Oh, Craig is never going to be calm today. Like, why do we do that? Why do we do that? We don't need to do it anymore. So counteract that with positive things. So once we were there, I was like, I need everyone to know this. I'm like so jazzed about it. I would go to sales meetings, and my sisters were involved in like jewelry sales. I'd go to their sales meeting and speak about it. I would just host luncheons and just talk about it for nothing, just for free, just to, you guys, I want you to know this. This is so cool. And understand manifestation, understand that we're all energy, understand that we're all connected, understand that you can change your mindset and change your energy and change what comes into your life. And then we just created positive activity. And we said, I want to teach this. I want to mentor people. I want to do workshops on it. And that's how it started. It started like in 2015, 2016. I really got into teaching it and doing presentations on it because it was so important to me. And now it's everywhere. Now here we are in 2026. Pretty much everybody knows that I think, I don't know, but like if you look at your Instagram feeds or Facebook, everybody knows positive mindset stuff is where it's at. But back in 2011, 2012, I had no idea what this was. And I'm sure it was there then too, but I didn't understand it. I didn't know. So I'm happy that I found it. So I have the tools to keep my resilience high and strong and healthy. So when Craig does have a bad day, or something awful does happen, or my order doesn't ship on time, I might go down a few notches, but then I can breathe through it. I can think about it. I have maybe a good idea comes into my brain on how to manage it and change it and do something different and
Mhm.
change my perspective on it. That's how it started.
Okay. So you do workshops now?
Hmm.
You go into businesses and speak about it, or?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Katie, in the book also, she talks about vibrations, I think, as well. And she's talking about either that, or I just know from talking to her that our thoughts are energy. And
Yes.
and vibrations as well. And
Yes.
our kids are so sensitive to that. Like Houston is very sensitive to Wi-Fi. He can pick up on vibrations on the trees and just energy, in the world. And she said that's why they can hear the thoughts, because it's energy,
Yes.
and they can
Absolutely.
hear it, and they can tap into it. They're
Right.
just hypersensitive to those vibrations. And that's why parents that are giving off bad energy, I guess, the kids aren't going to spell with them, because they're too anxious, they're too excited, or they're doubting, they're negative, whatever it is. It could
Right.
be too high, too low, right? And it's
Exactly.
throwing them off. And I never understood any of this, but I always used to say that Robbie had a sixth sense, that he could pick up on people, and he could always tell if you were a good person, if you're not a good person. And I always trusted his instinct.
Yes.
When there was a woman that was supposed to take care of him and he was very agitated around her, I knew. I was like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong there with her.
Yes.
And she just didn't
Wow.
like him, and he picked up on it, and he probably was hearing all her negative thoughts or whatever was going on. But yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, where's Robbie now? What does he do?
Oh, he's in heaven now. I thought you knew.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Here, let me go like this and it'll zoom
God
in on him.
bless him.
Watch. There he is. See him in the picture?
Oh, yes, I do.
It zooms in on him. Oh, it's a
Wait a
little
minute.
low.
Were
Yeah,
you
it zooms in on
on
him. Yeah.
a episode of the telepathy tapes?
No, no, that's Libby. You're probably thinking of
Oh,
Libby.
I am.
Libby's
Okay.
John Paul. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
John Paul was on it, and then he passed in the middle of the taping. So yeah, so
Oh,
Libby and I have that bond now because
wow.
Robbie and John Paul are together. Um, yeah, he had a seizure in his sleep.
Oh
Gosh, it's
my
8 years ago
gosh. Oh,
already.
Cindy, I'm so
So
sorry.
yeah, but my
Wow.
YouTube channel, I started with him, with Robbie.
Okay.
So if you scroll all the way back, people can see videos of him, um, because I was trying to advocate for over 21, and that the system is a mess, and
Yes.
they're not prepared for autism. They don't know anything about it and all that. So yeah, so I just continued the channel with, talking to other parents, and that's how I learned about spelling. So
So
yeah,
did Robbie ever spell?
no, I didn't know anything about it.
Does he communicate with you now?
Um, no, but I have talked to Houston and Ricky and some of the spellers that do regularly go to heaven and come
Yes.
back. They have met him and they've talked to him.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, I have chills. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And he told Houston that he does try to communicate with me, but I'm always too busy and I don't hear him. I'm like, that would be true. It's like, oh, oops. Yeah. Because I just don't sit still. I have to always keep my mind busy, and I'm one of those creative people. I have to always be creating. So I'm always
Yes.
working on something. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I would have to force myself to sit still and be quiet and just try to just listen.
Yes.
I was it, his old bedroom is a tiny bedroom in my house that I kind of turned it into like a closet space, because the bar in my closet broke, so I just turned that into like a walk-in closet. But I have a chair in there, and I sit in there, and I read in there and stuff. Um, and it's my prayer closet,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's cozy because of the clothes and everything. It mutes the sound. Um, anyway, I was sitting in there one time, maybe I was thinking about Robbie, I don't remember. And I have this hat from like Kentucky Derby party that I went to, and I had this big pink hat, and it's sitting on top of a lampshade in that room. And I sit in there, and it just fell on the floor, like for no
Oh,
reason. Like I wasn't moving around the room to make it fall. And I was like,
mm.
because it was Robbie's room that I was in.
Wow. That's a sign. So there's a book called Signs.
Mhm.
I think it'd be interesting for you to read.
Well, there's more. There's
Oh.
more. So you don't know my penguin story. All right. So you see these books?
Yes.
I wrote the children's books about a little penguin with autism, and the whole story to that is this. When the day Robbie passed, you know how your friends and family come over, right? And my neighbor left and she came back and knocked on the door and she showed me, she said, there's a little penguin on your front lawn. Were your niece is here today? Like, were any kids here? I said, no, there's no kids here today. So I didn't think anything of it. So I just, I put it on the shelf. I didn't think anything of it. Okay.
Right.
Then a couple days later, my husband goes back to work and there's a glass paperweight penguin sitting on his desk. And he's like, where did this come from? And like nobody knew. Right. So then we keep seeing penguins around. And then the day of his life celebration service, my daughter has a dream. She says, Mom, Robbie showed up at the door and he was wearing a tuxedo and he looked so good. He looked like Leo DiCaprio in the movie Titanic. And he was saying, come on, let's go. Let's get my party started here, So I Googled Leo DiCaprio wearing a tux, and then I Googled tuxedo and tux. And up on the first thing that came up on my search was a picture of a penguin, because a tuxedo was also known as a penguin suit. I was like, okay, like what's happening here? What's going on? And then a couple of weeks later, he was living at a group home and we went to his home and he used to watch Disney movies all the time. And we still had DVDs then, weren't not watching, on an iPad or anything. And I said, I want to know what the last movie is that he ever watched. So I hit the eject button to the DVD player and out comes Happy Feet with the dancing penguins. I said, all right, I get it. This is Robbie. Obviously, this is Robbie. There's something about the penguins here. Obviously, he likes penguins. I always knew he liked the scene from Mary Poppins.
Yes.
About with the dancing penguins.
Love it. Yes.
So I knew it was a sign. I knew it was definitely that Robbie was making sure that all these penguins showed up. And so then like 2 years later, I wrote the children's book about a little penguin. And then I started my foundation, and that's the logo for the foundation is penguin. So everybody kind of knows the penguin story. So those were my signs from him. So now anytime anybody sees a penguin, they text it to me.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I love that you have that gift from him. That's awesome.
Yeah. But that stopped years ago. I don't see penguins really. I see 222 a lot. The number, but that's it. That's it. Wow. But now that I know about all the telepathy and stuff, so your son said when he talks to God, he talks telepathically, right? Yeah. So I listen to a lot of near-death experiences, a lot of NDEs. Like I watch pretty much every day, I watch a different video about it. There's tons of them on TikTok and YouTube and everything. And that's how they communicate in heaven, telepathically. So they always say, we didn't speak with words out of our mouths. I just heard, you just hear each other. You just hear your thoughts. They talk about meeting Jesus and stuff, and that's how they hear, is just through the thoughts. Right. So it makes sense to me that that's how he talks to him, because that's how they talk in heaven. And I suspect that the hill is some section in the heavenly realms that these kids go to, and that's where they talk to each other telepathically. Yes.
And I suspect as well that there's more than one hill.
Yes.
There's just no way they can all fit on one. Or they're all
there's thousands of them, especially now that the telepathy tapes came out. Like there's so many of them going there too. But I've heard it's heavily protected by angels. And so bad people that are trying to access it cannot get in.
Yes.
So yeah.
Did Robbie ever, I can remember Craig being young, up in his bedroom, just laughing his butt off.
Yes.
Laughing and laughing. And I'm thinking,
yes, and this is what caught my attention about this stuff, because my husband would always say he'd be cracking up laughing at seemingly nothing, and my husband would always say, oh, he's playing with his angels. It's like, oh, he can see the angels in his rooms, they're making him laugh.
Yes.
And somebody had commented that on Facebook about their kid. I don't remember if they said they saw something. Oh, well, one kid said they see a man in their room or something like that, but that wasn't there. But I think I commented on there, oh yeah, we always say that Robbie sees his angels. And Katie Asher responded to my comment
Oh,
and private messaged me. And that's how we got this whole conversation started. And she was writing her book at the time.
okay.
And then I interviewed her, and yeah, so it all started with that. But
Mm.
I'm in the process of writing another book,
Oh,
and I've been journaling since 1995. So I'm going through all my old journals, and
oof.
I can't believe how many times I wrote, Robbie was up at 3 o'clock in the morning today.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's always 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And that's a very spiritual time, apparently. Like the spirit realm is very active at 3 a.m., angels and everything. So
Yep.
it's very common for these kids to wake up at 3 a.m. and be laughing, you
Yep.
know. Yeah. Or
Mhm.
they go off to their room and they're giggling and laughing or crying or whatever's going on because they're at the hill, and whatever's going on in the hill.
I know. They're
Yeah.
beautiful, amazing souls
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
it's just amazing. And I'm happy that younger parents can know this now for with their 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year olds. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't know it then. And I'm
No.
happy that they can learn it now and just nourish them in a different way and nourish themselves as parents in a different way. I would have nourished myself in a different way back then.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So your son, so he goes to this program. What are does he have any goals or dreams for his life or his future?
For him himself, yes.
Yeah.
His goals, in a nutshell, there's a few, but he wants a high school diploma.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to take college courses. He wants to mentor and help teach other non-speakers. He wants to get to the keyboard so bad.
Yeah.
With me, not yet. He's working with one particular practitioner and they're practicing the keyboard. He has to wear glasses to see the keyboard. So this is sensory overload for him to wear them. But we're getting there. So he gets
Mm-hmm.
dysregulated and all that.
Yeah. Did you have his
He,
vision checked by a neurodevelopmental optometrist?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Does he have double vision?
Don't know. I don't remember that on the report. I'll have to go back and look at that because we're
Yeah.
going back
Well,
again to someone
because
else.
I interviewed Susan Daniel. She works with Dawn Marie Gavin from the
Mhm.
Spellers movie.
Sure.
So anybody who does Spellers Method goes to see her usually, and she
Oh,
said
okay.
almost all of them have double vision, if not
Oh,
even
all right. That's
Houston
good
is
to know.
triple. Sees
Okay.
triple. And so a lot of parents just don't know that.
No, they don't
And so
know.
when you were saying he has to look at large print, it was
Yes,
making me wonder if the tiny letters are just kind of all over the place, which is what the
right,
problem is. Maybe that's why he
right.
needs to see
Yes.
larger.
So he wants to learn how to play guitar. He
Okay.
wants to get better at basketball and soccer. He wants strong abs. Um, he wants a girlfriend.
Okay.
Um, he wants all
Is
these
that why
things.
I wanted to find Laura?
He wants me to find Laura for him so that
Mm-hmm.
he can go visit her. Like, oh boy, okay. So yes, he has goals and objectives. He wants to write a book. We did start a blog, like I said, but we haven't, contributed to it in a while. Um, so I ask him, why do you want to work on the keyboard?
Mm-hmm.
It's because I want people to see how intelligent I am. And he feels like if he can sit there independently and type into a keyboard, it's him without someone holding it for him or holding a board for him or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's me, the keyboard, and here I am, and then the computer can talk for me. That's
Right.
ideal. He sees that ideal. I said, well, I think people really do know you're intelligent, but to him, he wants to prove it so badly.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. He's an ego too. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. So,
So,
all right. Well, good. Good for him. I feel it's very important to have goals in
yes,
life, because if you don't, you just stop living, really.
right.
It's a depressing existence. It's you have nothing to look forward to. So he's got a lot of goals. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you think he keeps a positive mindset?
Yes, I think he does.
Because I was going to ask you, because people with anxiety
Mm-hmm.
tend to always be running negative thoughts through their head, but anxiety can come with autism. So how do we help? How do we help people in that situation? Like if they're on the set spectrum and they've got high anxiety, which a lot of them do, how can we help them with their mindset?
Well, wow.
Like
They
maybe writing positive things down and having them say it and
Right.
repeat it every day.
This some of the practices I use are an appreciation practice. So every day I write down three unique new things I appreciate that happened in the last 24 hours and think about those things. And that brings back that good feeling emotion again. I write down, and these are the things that have been scientifically proven to lower your anxiety, right? Doing a conscious act of kindness every day. One is great, but more than one is amazing, right? Doing something kind and nice for someone else helps you feel better every day. Um, Having conscious recall, so writing down in the journal, and if these kids can't write, they can think about it, right? Or they can spell it out, or whatever they need to do. And of something that made you feel amazing yesterday within the last 24 hours. And meditation, exercise, eating well, all of these things can help lower your anxiety, especially the exercise. Craig says exercise helps him the best. Doing your vagus nerve exercises. I didn't even know the vagus nerve existed, but I bought a book about it. There's many books or YouTube videos on toning that vagus nerve, which goes from your brainstem through your heart into your gut, and down, and where all of those organs get tensed up when you feel anxiety. So doing those exercises, and it's hard. Craig still has anxiety. We're also working on reducing the viruses. And he has virus overload in his body, which we're working to reduce now, which leads to brain inflammation, which brings in that looping language. So we're
Virus,
working
like what
to
kind of
reduce
virus?
that.
You mean
Say it again.
what kind of virus in his
So
body?
with the viruses that he has are from when he was bitten by a tick. So when he had Lyme back, I don't know, when he was 10, 12 years old, back then they didn't really know what it was. And again, I was working with someone outside of the box and she did know what it was. So he tested positive for Lyme, but at the time we didn't realize that Lyme has many co-infections from that tick bite. So there's like 10 or 12 viruses that are sitting in his body and came up on a blood
20 years
test.
later?
Yes. Yes, they sit there. They're in your organs, they're in your brain. They inflame your brain. They wreak havoc. So we're working with a holistic medicine. I would say she's I guess you would call her a functional medicine doctor. And we've got herbs that we're doing right now to help get rid of those co-infections and
Mhm.
get rid of that. So there's could be something medically going on as well. Look at viruses and look at, bacteria overgrowth. Look at the gut. The gut is where all of those neurotransmitters start. They don't start in the brain, they start in the gut. So if the gut's a mess, there's no way your gut is going to be able to make them properly. The body has to be tip-top shape for these kids, and I don't feel like it always is.
Mhm.
No sugar. Craig eats no cane sugar. He eats no grains, no gluten, no dairy. Foods affect their mood too. Even saying all of that, he still has anxious and looping language, which I feel like can get better with some of these outside of the box things that we're doing.
Mhm.
And he's agreeable to them because I ask him, this is what we're going to do. Is that okay with you?
So he's not living with you. So is he abiding by this diet when
Mm-hmm.
he's home?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
No,
Yeah.
I don't ever know. You're right. But
Can
since
you
I
hold up his
call it,
picture? Can you hold up his picture so the
yeah.
viewers can
So
see?
he's home with us till April 4th, and I call it Mom's Boot Camp because it's all about diet and nutrition and these
Mhm.
herbal things, supplements he's taking, and energy work and magnet work. And oh my gosh, there's so much you can do outside of the box now to help the kids with magnet therapy and hyperbaric stuff. And we have a grounding mat that we use. And oh my God,
Mhm.
red light therapy, you name it. Like
Right.
I've overturned rocks, let's put it that way. Oh my gosh.
Oh, good. Yeah, and I guess everybody could just sort of look these things up. on the internet. You can start going down the rabbit hole.
You
Is there a
can.
good place that people could start that don't know anything about any of these things? Like anything that you can recommend?
Oh,
I guess see a functional medicine doctor,
you
and
got
that
to
really would
go.
get you
That's
started.
where I would start.
Yeah,
Is
because I don't like when people like when the whole thing came out with leucovorin, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna just put my kid on leucovorin." I'm like, No, you can't just do that.
no, you
There's more.
can't.
You also
You have
have
to
to
have the
take
frat
dairy.
test first. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You need to see a doctor first, a functional medicine doctor, and
Yes.
they're probably going to tell you to get them off the dairy and the gluten and the sugar and all that stuff as well. It's not
Yes.
just a magic pill.
Right. Yeah.
So
In
yeah.
fact, we're running the frat test on Craig. I've never even done that. I didn't even know that was a thing. So sh this new physician I'm working with, well, she's not a physician. She's not an MD. She's an ND, as
Mhm.
in naturopathic doctor.
Yeah.
And she ordered that for us. But I would start there because
Yeah, I
that
learned about
function.
that when I interviewed Honey Rinicella.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she talked about that, the frat test. That's where I
Mm,
first heard about the leucovorin, the
right.
frat test from that.
That's where you find out all these cool new things and
And
these cool.
she it runs the Dan, the not Dan.
The med
Yeah,
maps.
and
It's
I
this
said
weekend.
MedMaps. Yes, it
So
used to be Dan. Now it's MedMaps.
yes, now it's med maps, and actually
Mhm.
on Sunday, March 15th, this Sunday they're having a virtual session for parents where it's $100 for parents to tap in and watch it virtually, and it's a parent day. So I'm doing that as well.
Who
And
MedMaps is?
med maps is,
Okay.
yes. If you go on their website, you can probably see where that's at. And I'm going to do that on Sunday as well. So here I am. He's 35, but I still feel like more and more is coming out to help them.
Mhm.
And some parents don't even know that there's medical issues involved in this diagnosis. And I believe that there are. I do. I truly do.
Right. Yeah, I want to learn more about pandas as well. I want
Right.
to get somebody
Which
on here to
Craig
talk
was
about
just
that.
diagnosed with. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a nonverbal autism group on Facebook, and I am shocked how almost every day to see posts where people have never heard of spelling. I'm like,
Oh,
how at this point have you not heard about it? But
yeah. Yes.
there's a lot that they don't know, which is why I do these interviews because I
It
always learn something
shocks
new from
me
everybody.
because I would speak a couple years ago. I did a top 10 list, my top 10 list for new parents with a diagnosed child. And I thought, what am I going to tell them as the grandmother in this crowd? These
Mhm.
are all young, hip parents. They've been on the internet forever. There's all this information out there. What am I possibly going to tell them? They were so overwhelmed, confused, way too much information, couldn't find the right physician. It's still a mess in that diagnosis.
Right.
So I did help them, and I was glad that I did.
And there's a
But
lot of negative opposing information that's out there too
right,
that kind of shoots down, you
right,
know.
yes,
Yeah, because my son was getting his master's in special ed and he said, "What do I write about?" And I said, "Write about RPM." I didn't know about spelling at the time.
yeah,
And he Googled it and he saw Ash's statement come up right away,
uh,
shooting it down. And he's like, "Mom, I can't write about that. It's been disproven." I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the first thing that comes up on a Google search.
sure.
So yeah. Yeah. So
Wow,
it can
how
be
do they have
difficult.
so much power? It drives me crazy. But Neil and I, well, I testified at the New Hampshire State House 2 years ago about spelling because they wanted to fund a pilot study in the schools, in a couple of schools in New Hampshire. And they mentioned that, and I said, well, luckily there are two federal laws that protect our kids and their choice of communication styles. So why do they have so? And I said, my
Which
school,
is what? What are the laws?
ADA and IDEA, they both do. Assistive technology and choice of communication. It's covered by both of those federal laws. And I said, Craig had about, I don't know.
Parents need to know that because there's a
Yeah.
lot of them that are all learning about spelling now, and then they try to bring it into school or their program or whatever, and then they hit a wall.
Okay. Those parents need to go to communication, the number 4all.org, which is Elizabeth Bonker's site.
Yep.
She's deep into the
Hmm.
research, deep into the laws that are out there.
Yeah.
Don't let a special ed teacher has no idea God love them, and I know they do the best they can, but they haven't researched this piece of the pie. They don't have time.
Right.
So the parents have to advocate for it and stand up with the federal law. And I remember telling the State House committee, thank you, Nashua. You spent about $165,000 over the course of Craig's career on speech therapy, never improved his speech at all. It was a waste of time because they didn't understand that he had apraxia and this wasn't going to happen.
Right.
Or they didn't know how to work with apraxia, which, whatever. So, I don't know what the point was on that, but it's just
Yeah,
getting the
but the
word out.
communication for all,
Yeah.
with number 4, yeah. I have not been able to get them on my show, but I still plug them. So yeah, communication for all, because Elizabeth Bonker, she's the one that did the famous valedictorian speech and spelled it out. And then she started her own foundation, and she believes that communication is a right for that everyone should have, and it should be free. And she's got all these free resources. So if you want to know about spelling and how to do it, they have videos on there, and all these
And she gives
resources.
away boards. Like she raised money to give away boards, give away lessons. So yeah, because there shouldn't be a barrier of entry and funds, and money being one of them. And so I agree. She's amazing. I met her in person. She's amazing. And her mom, fabulous. And they're in the movie. So if parents can go watch Spellers, the documentary. It's free on YouTube. There it is in a nutshell. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Lori, thanks for being on here with me
Oh my
today.
gosh. Thank you.
What is your contact info if anybody wants to get in touch with you?
Sure.
Your website?
Yes, if you go to positiveactivity.net, my email is on there, Neil's email is on there, and it's LORI@positiveactivity.net. And we respond to every email personally. And I have parents that call me all the time or email me all the time, and I give them tips and tricks. And I love it because I feel like I'm giving back from my knowledge and what I've researched and what I've been doing. And at the same time, I'm like, but how do we not know this now in 2026? So I try not to go there. How do we not know this now in 2026?
That's negative.
And stay over here with yay me.
Stay on the positive side.
Right.
Yeah. Just say, I'm so glad that we have so much knowledge now in 2026. Right. This is great. Exactly. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for reframing that for me. Awesome.
Yes. And so, it was, all last week it was raining all week. And I was like, I'm so happy for the rain because it's going to bring all the beautiful flowers that are going to come out next month.
Perfect. It's all perspective.
It's
all perspective. Yes.
It is. Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And that's the name of my show, Spectrum Perspectives.
Beautiful.
So there we go. So today we're going to talk about having a positive perspective. So that's great. All right, Lori, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me
very much.
It was a great conversation. I loved it.
Okay. All right.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and it helped you gain a new perspective. If so, be sure to hit the like button and follow this channel to hear or see future episodes. Please visit our website at robbiesworldbook.com, where you'll learn more about Robbie's World Foundation. We do retreats for moms and events for families. You'll learn more about our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, which was featured on the Today Show for World Autism Awareness Day. The series has 12 stories about a little penguin with autism based on the life of my son Robbie when he was a little boy. Kids of all ages and abilities love to read the rhyming stories. Meanwhile, they'll be learning things about autism like stimming and eloping. If you'd like to actually see videos of Robbie and get to know him, visit our YouTube page, Robbie's World, and scroll all the way back to the beginning, and you'll see videos of him, and you'll see how this all got started.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.